So IFS, and I'm not doing anything really like fancy or formal, right? Like we're just
No.
going to get some clips out of here and, have our face on the internet so people hear us. Um, so, okay, yeah, IFS is internal family systems.
Yeah, okay. I could feel the words, but I'm like, what is that again? Internal
Yeah, because
immune system.
Richard Schwartz and I've been studying on the Embody Lab with Frank Anderson, and
Mm,
right now I'm in the course IFS Informed Somatic Trauma Healing or Trauma Therapy. So it's for clinicians, it's for therapists. They can get their some credits through that for their licensing. But I just took it because with the somatic body work, the dialoguing is so helpful when things come up on a table. When we start getting into the waters, we start, opening new old memory, things come up and abstract things come up. So to be able to just welcome all the parts, as they say in IFS, and then dialogue with those parts and be able to kind of separate those parts out and have these relationships with the parts of us that are stuck in a time phase lock in the past in our body, right? And we access those things and the through the body work, the water, once the water comes into the tissue, water carrying memory, right?
mm,
These parts come online again, and then they are able to communicate back to the central nervous system, whatever memory, whatever information, and from whatever time period that this part has been, locked into for so long, that our body has been looping. It's been stuck in a loop for so long. And it's like an alarm system in our body, right? Like the pain or the tension,
mm,
it it's sending a signal, and these energetic loops are there. And when we can let the water come in, it can like release the loop. And then the energy or the information can then circulate and be processed and then free up. Like that's why we feel lighter after a session like that, or a cry or a release, because
mm.
there's so much more energy available in our toroidal field
Yeah.
to access and to be part of. Like, it's
And
wild. And
I want to ask, when you say bring the water in, you're
yeah,
meaning you're talking about water that's already in the body? Yeah,
yeah,
and just moving it. And once it kind
yes.
of breaks through whatever the blockage is, that
Yeah,
kind of bringing the water in, like the water comes into an area that's been restricted of water, right? Is that what you?
yeah, it's been
Okay.
dehydrated.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, those tissues that are tense and dense just are dehydrated. And then with the myofascial release, the cranial sacral work, kind of a little bit of shiatsu technique, we can open up those meridians. I say that I just unblock the dams with my hands. I'm just there to help unblock the dam, and and the water shows me where it wants to go, and then I just help it
Mm.
go. And then you can feel the fluid come back into the tissue.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm like, can you work on me right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I need some water flowing in my neck right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah, me too, me too. I mean, like I said, that part of my hip that's been doing this, there's information there for me. If I just like tune into that, I'm like, what is that about? Why do I keep doing this? Like I'm ready to go at the starting race or something. So yeah, the water it's so wise. I mean, my relationship with water has evolved so much too through this work of understanding water, as the mother or as this entity that is like so much part of the earth and our bodies and the wisdom and how it flows through, it could have flown through like it could have been in a dinosaur, or where in the depths of the ocean through a whale. I mean, how cool is that? And then when we interact with the water, we get that memory back. If we're open enough, we can process that memory or have those visions or have those sensations. I had a client, she like had this whole kind of feeling that she was embodying a huge dinosaur on the earth and stomping on the earth. And it was like, wow, I mean, yeah, that's so cool. Like you can say, oh, maybe I was a dinosaur once, but like for me, how I kind of redirect that is like, well, what does dinosaur have for you now? What is
Mm,
dinosaur? What are the
mm,
gifts of dinosaur in this moment? How does it feel? I'm big. I'm like, each step shakes the earth. I'm here. I'm present. And it's like, ooh, can we welcome that dinosaur energy in of like maybe water is asking you to embody bigger energy to like really make yourself known and present. So how can we like take that memory and just apply it to us because we were
mm.
talking about past lives and great past lives, they carry information, but sometimes we don't remember our past lives because it's just too much information to integrate in this life. There's enough going on in this life.
Yeah. Wow. That's so many thoughts are coming to me, but one specific thing that I just saw a musician singing, Olivia Fern, I think her name is. I'm sure you've heard
Oh
some of her
yes, yeah.
songs. Yeah. She just posted a video, and the first words of the song she was singing was, Mother of the water, I am your daughter. And I just was like, oh, I'm so moved by that. Like, and so to what you're saying, how the water is the mother, right? And that makes so much sense, and how it is holding so much, and how the earth is holding the water. Kind of what I felt her singing to was the earth, like the earth is holding the water. We talk about that with the chakras, like the root chakra is earth. That's the element of that chakra.
Hmm.
And you need the earth first because the earth is what is going to hold the water, which is the second chakra, the sacral. And then it's making me think about how water literally can move earth. It's so powerful that it can move through stone, and it can break down these things. And so maybe in a sense that can kind of move past life information for us without us having to think about it or talk about it or process it or have it come up even as a visual. Some people don't even get visuals, but um, yeah, I had a really I'm like, do I want to share? I've only really had like one experience where I went into a past life thing, but I did kind of ask to go there, but not with that specific language. But I went to an energy worker for Reiki in La Jolla when I was living there. And she was recommended from somebody at a mantra concert that we went to for Simrit. If you've ever heard of Simrit, she sings beautiful devotional mantra music. This woman was next to me telling me about her energy healer that she goes to. I was pregnant at the time with my second daughter, Dahlia, and my first birth, I had planned a home birth, and I labored at home for around 30 hours and never quite fully dilated. And so I ended up being at 9 centimeters for like 12 hours. It was quite wild of a birth. And it was my first one in this lifetime. And so I was like, I didn't know. I just did not know. There was so much that looking back, and I think about this all the time. I have a sister friend of mine. She's actually like in the birth portal as we speak. I think she probably already birthed, but I haven't heard yet from her. So whenever my, friends, my like beloved sisters are having their first, I'm just like in so much prayer because you really do need the village to hold you, and especially the mothers that have come before you to like hold that field with you. I think that's really powerful. I guess you don't need it, but I think it's really powerful if you can have that. So anyway, I'm thinking of that. But when I was in it, I had no idea like how just what birth was going to be like. It was just all happening as it was happening. And it was really beautiful. The first like early labor was really lovely, and it was just Kobe and I, and we just took our time, and everything was really sacred and wonderful. And then we were talking to the midwife throughout that, and then she came. And when she came, I was actually at 7 centimeters, so I had progressed pretty far. I was like almost in that active part of labor. And so I got into the water when she got there, and looking back now, energetically, like a different color took over when my midwife came. Everything shifted, almost like a gray.
Mhm.
But when you're not knowing and you're like in the birth portal, you're just so in it. But I can see it now really clearly looking back. And Kobe talks about it really clearly too. He was like, "Did you feel that shift that happened?" So I keep laboring. I get to 9 centimeters, and everything's really intense. And so there was a lot of things that happened that did not feel super good to my system, including the midwife. From what I like knew of her, and I didn't work with her very long before birth, but I what I knew of her for those, I want to say it was like 10 weeks, maybe. I hired her around 30 weeks. What I knew of her was not who she became in birth. And I actually, now that I've done this now 3 times, I actually know that that's not uncommon. And that goes for any birth worker, right? Hospital, midwife. But I was kind of I had been teaching yoga for about a decade at that point. I was in the very natural world. And I also was a little bit in an illusion that, like, if you do things naturally, it will be right. It will work out, right? And so my best friend and I talk about this because she had a really totally different birth experience, but also very traumatic first birth. And our daughters' birthdays are mirrors of each other, 7/28 and 8/27. They're just a month apart. But we both were like very adamant. Like, I didn't even want to hear the word C-section. I didn't even want to talk about it, think about it. Like, I'm not bringing that into the field because then it will become real. Well, my midwife shape shifted and became very like aggressive towards me. And so my body contracted, obviously. And I really think that is what stopped me from being able to fully dilate in hindsight. But at the time, here I am, like taking this on as it's all my fault. And so then more things happened, and I'm not going to go into it, but basically, there was a lot of absent. She was very absent for those long hours where I was almost fully dilated, but not quite. And so I was contracting, like having really strong contractions every minute for hours. And we had been awake for a while, like over 24 hours. So Kobe fell asleep. And so I really actually was like alone. He was right next to me, so I could have gotten him, but I was alone in that moment going through those contractions. And yeah, it was really something. And I couldn't quite go into what was trying to happen, which was more like the psychedelic journey that happens when you give birth. I think I never could quite get there because I wasn't feeling held in the container fully. And I could have done that a little bit better for myself, but when it's your first time, you only know what you know. So in hindsight, but the next morning, we did one final thing. So interesting, all the water stuff, because now I'm like, yeah, because birth is so much water. Wow. So the last attempt to get me to fully dilate was breaking my water. So do we want to break the water? And so I said my mantra. Oh, it's making me emotional.
Oh,
My mantra was, she is coming. She is coming. Like, my baby is coming. She will be here. And I was just like so solid. I mean, I did not skip a beat. So I was like, okay, we're going to break the water. Like, she is coming. She is going to be here. Like, I've got this. Like, I actually felt really good and like moved through a lot of those really intense moments just with that conviction and clarity. It never occurred to me that it wouldn't happen the way that I wanted. And so it was the next morning after laboring all morning and we broke the water and then everything intensifies so much. And we tried a little bit more. I tried some pushing and nothing changed. And so the midwife said, I think we need to go to the hospital. And I just remember like everything just like shattering, like that whole veil that I had been holding of like, this is going to happen and it's going to be okay, went away. Because I was like, wait, what? Like hospital? I had not thought of that. And so then I had to kind of regain my composure. And I was in Atlanta for this birth, and it was 40 minutes to the hospital while I was really intensely contracting. I remember that car ride very well. And we got there, and the doctor who was on call that night said, your cervical lip is too swollen for you to continue pushing and have this baby vaginally. And I was like, I don't know. And unfortunately, the midwife was like in my ear telling me a lot of things that were making me feel even more like questioning my own sovereignty. But I had had some messages throughout my pregnancy that I should have this baby in the hospital, and I didn't listen. And I don't know if it was just always part of her path to come this way, via C-section. There is a lot that I've learned now about C-section babies, especially in terms of the crown and how the crown is not affected in the same way because they're born via C-section. So there's an activity here. I don't know. So maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe it was just part of her and I's journey together. But that knowing, that remembrance of like, I kind of got this message already and I ignored it. And when I was in the hospital, I was like, enough. I'm doing this. This baby's coming via C-section. And my doctor, who I had worked with throughout, so I had a doctor and a midwife, and the doctor, I'm still friends with her. What a dear soul. She was a little more natural, totally okay with me having a home birth. She was about to go on vacation. She was in her regular person clothes, like leaving to go, and she came in and did my C-section for me.
Wow.
So it ended up being this really like sacred thing. And yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful for how that went. So, okay, fast forward to what this started with, which is the energy worker in La Jolla. So after that birth, I'm pregnant with my second. And I was like, I need to move something in me that's beyond me. It's bigger than what I can like consciously process on my own. It's bigger than, I was yoga, Kundalini, like so in touch with myself and so in touch, but it was like this untouchable little spot in myself. And I knew it was, and I was like, I need someone else to hold this with me. So I went to this energy worker, and I'm like 5 months pregnant with Dahlia, and we walk in and she was like, okay, are you okay if I talk to the baby? Because she's talking to me. And so Dahlia gave her like all these downloads about who she was, which everything has remained true to this day. I'm so excited to meet my sister, but I'm not like her. And like they're like besties, but like could not be more night and day, both in how they look. Like Sati looks just like Kobe. Dahlia looks just like me. Kobe has like the darker features. I have the lighter features. They kind of mirror our personalities. So it's really interesting. They're like our little soul mirrors with us in life. Um, she told me all these things about her, and then we kind of went into this portal, and it just, she held a container for me without words where a past life came up. And I was like, I'm having this image of a tree. And she's like, okay, go ahead, go there. And I'm like, okay, I'm birthing at a tree. And wow, I could still feel it. I mean, it was so powerful. And she was like, yeah, mm-hmm. And what happened? And I was like, my midwife didn't make it. And she said, do you remember who your midwife was? And it was that best friend who, that I just mentioned, where our daughters were born a month apart. She's like one of my soul sisters. Her and Kobe are like related, like they have the same eyes. Like they just, it's so magical. So that's my soul sister, Alila, who lives in Hawaii. So I saw her. She was my medicine woman. She said, well, she didn't make it. Why did she not make it? And I said, she just didn't get there in time. Like I was birthing so quickly. So it wasn't any charge that she said, right, nothing happened. She just didn't make it in time. And Kobe was my partner. And I died
Mm.
giving birth, but my son was born.
Wow.
And that's my soul son in this life.
Mm.
And so it's interesting because I didn't get to be with him in that life. And in this life, I didn't birth him. So he's like my son, but still like, yeah,
In spirit.
yeah, like truly, truly, I feel such a deep connection with him.
Mm.
But that was such a journey for me to, I was just sobbing. She was like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm okay. But it was just like the realization and the knowing, and knowing that like there was a part of me that was afraid that I wouldn't get to be with my baby. And that blocked me in the birth portal. And I didn't have a framework for that, and I probably couldn't go into that psychedelically when I was in birth, because that would have been so intense while bringing a baby. But that I was able to talk about it when I wasn't in the birth portal allowed me to process it, so that when I gave birth, so I, 4 months later, went into labor. I had the most amazing midwife. I talked with her about all of this. She was actually close to my age, which I think is really special and necessary to talk about, that like you don't need this like elder midwife to have a amazing midwife. And she held me. There was a moment, my birth was almost identical in terms of length and how it felt, and how, everything was flowing. But then when I went from 9 centimeters to 10, I had to face that moment. And
The turn in the
woo,
labyrinth. The turn in the labyrinth.
yes. And
Yes.
I just remember like I was in it, my eyes were closed, and I was like having this really interesting like psychedelic journey. And I also credit Dahlia's soul, because a lot of light in her soul too. Like Mother Mary was there, and I saw like the hieroglyphs, and I saw this like aqua colored teepee, and I mean all of this really powerful like heavenly energy that I think allowed all of that to kind of move. And this was all during lockdown also, by the way. And would open my eyes and look at my midwife to kind of like come back into reality, and she was just right there with me, looking at me, holding me, and like I felt like I wasn't saying anything, but I felt like she knew exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh my God, is it happening again? In my mind, it's gonna happen again. Is it gonna happen again? And so she's like, okay, it's time to move. So we're gonna get up out of the tub, and let's see. Like she was like, it's time for the next part. And I went and sat on the toilet, and my water broke. And that was where I was like, it's different, because that didn't happen the first time. I was like, it's different. And then I went to the bed. Both my home births, I guess all three births I've given birth in a bed because even in the hospital. But yeah, I like to birth in my bed on my back. Hilariously, I know that's like what people talk about. No, but that's exactly where I want to be. I lean back and then I want to put one foot up, and that's how I do it. And so I laid in the bed and she was like, "You're crowning." And I felt the baby and I was like, "It's happening," and pushing, I don't remember how long. I think it was like 30 minutes, not super long. And Dahlia came out and right onto my chest and I was like, "It's a COVID miracle." It was like my beautiful silver lining of that crazy time, and it was just so magical, and I got to have that full circle moment and healing moment that you don't always get. I recognize like that doesn't always happen for people in that way, right? All the way around and all the way redemption and all the way, like that was such a good feeling for me of like, I
Oh, victory.
did it! Victory!
Victory.
Exactly. Victory. Yes. Victory, 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 victory. Yeah. It was
Amazing.
amazing. So, and then I just had my another home birth here with my third little pumpkin, and yeah, so all of that. I guess we wanted to go into my birth story. Woo!
Yeah. Like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing it. It's so, so sacred and it's such an initiation. It is so, and like, I relate so much of that. And I think we like touched a little bit on it with our chat, but like, wow, what a similar birth kind
Mm,
of journey we've had. Oh, it's wild. I can relate with that like feeling of like the victory that I did it. Like, but and that journey from C-section to home birth, like it is such an initiation. And to face the turns in the labyrinth when the fear's there, that's where you're like, I've been here before. Okay, now there's a new pathway, right? And then to face we were talking about video games before, it's like face the boss, like face that
yeah.
next obstacle. You got to climb, go through this tunnel or whatever the thing is. And you did, and you were able to like, well, first you faced it. And being pregnant is part of the whole, our mother journey is a is a whole it's a like once we decide, okay, we're getting pregnant, and you get pregnant, like it starts, and then it's the rest of your life. We don't go back from that. And
Totally. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. I
so
love that.
then
Yes.
do that work while you were pregnant to prepare for that next birth. It was the key that unlocked the doorway, that it was like, okay, this is a new thing. We're not repeating old patterns. We're not going to do that thing before. And the what you talked about, the midwife, I mean, I had the same experience. Like,
Really?
yes,
Really?
how do you,
Wow.
it's like you showed me this face, but then now it's this face. And
Wow.
my blood pressure was fine when you weren't here, but when you got here, my blood pressure went through the roof. Like that was a somatic, like a physiological change
Yes.
where you experienced the graining of the space. I had that very, and then there was a pressure, like there felt like a pressure. No wonder my blood pressure was going. It's like somehow I had to now perform.
Mm.
And then there was a piece of the power play. So for me, power dynamics have been I mean, I'm sure they're part of all of our stories, right? Because some sort of, when we come into relationship with someone, one person's carrying this coherence, this one is carrying this coherence or frequency, right? And whether we come into coherence or not, right? This can be harmonized or it can be distortion. And like, usually it's two sides of the same coin, the same story we're working on, but we're mirroring different sides of that coin, or maybe switching roles. Um, that power dynamic of when you mention the word sovereignty, the way that we've been shown or that it's encoded in us to give away the power to someone who knows better, right? She's a midwife. She's done this all, she's had her own kids. This is her job. This is her thing, right? Oh, she knows what to do. I've
Mm.
never done this before. And on all the birth classes, they didn't really teach the somatic embodiment that birth requires,
Mm.
right? Of like, well, now you know how you birth. You like to lay down with your foot up, right? Like we would never be able to know that if we didn't explore in the birth portal. But what if we explored before the birth portal? What if we explored more of our bodies the way that we want to move before the birth portal?
My gosh.
Instead of being like,
Like
is this how I do it? Is this
speaking
it?
to my heart right now, so big. I literally have a course that I am like on the precipice of releasing called Threshold, and you like reflected perfectly back to me. It's a course for women to prepare for motherhood. So not the birth necessarily, but how do we take what pregnancy is offering to us and bringing up to the surface, because the trip already started. Like the minute that baby is coming into your body, like the trip has begun. And it's a journey and it's a spiral and there's all this stuff and like past life stuff will come up. Like for me, that was huge. I mean, look at how much that just moved. It brought the tears up for me. Still, it brings the tears up for me. But I had a message of maybe this baby wants to come at the hospital, and I just was like, no, I'm not looking at that. And like maybe look at that, maybe like tap into like how can I feel safe in any environment, because birth it's a huge question mark. It's the unknown, and we just want to be like, I know it. I know what it's going to look like, but it's actually the unknown, and that's all it's going to be until you go through it. And that's it. And the next birth will be another unknown. There's no like, well, I did it once and now it's going to be the same thing.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's such an uncomfortable place for us as humans
Mhm.
to have that unknown. And then before you have a child, and even before you have another child or whatever your family constellation is, right? I had a child, but I didn't have to birth him. So I didn't go through that, but he helped me grow up a lot. He just graduated high school and I said to him like, "Thank you for helping me grow up. Like you taught me." And he kind of was like, "Grow up." Like he didn't say that, but he did more or less. He's like, like let's do this. So how do we prepare for motherhood? How do we intentionally set ourselves up to be in the mindset, because we don't know what our birth is going to be like. We don't know what our postpartum is going to be like. We don't really know what our partner is going to be like. We have an idea, but we don't know. And the only thing that we can get set on is right here and right here for ourselves. It's like this, like who am I going to be? And as much as we can, there's like something trying to come through right now. I always use the analogy of like a canvas, but let me think. Let me just feel what this is trying to come through. Hmm. There's an analogy that wants to come through. Maybe it will happen
S-
if
if you want to have a thread too, maybe you might be feeling my thread that's like
yeah,
right
go.
here is that um self-betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Self-betrayal like has been one of the greatest, you know, um teachers through the birth process, through my life, but I think in general, talking about giving away the power piece of can I trust myself to walk through this in a way that feels good to me? And then in the end of the day, we're going to find out how empowered I truly am in my own body and in my own, you know, and then how much can I surrender?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of both and it's like I trust myself to walk this journey however this is gonna, and then if I get to the turn of the labyrinth and it's time to lay down and let whatever's in front of me happen, that's what it, and it is, it's just that. And you mentioned psychedelics, the same thing. How much can I surrender? How much can I just go on this on this trip? And I use the analogy with my clients on the table. It's like a lot of us have a very busy mind. How can I just get back in the canoe? Put myself back in the canoe, no oars, just down the river. In the canoe without oars, down the river, floating down the river. And God is the current.
Mm.
God is the water, mama water.
Yeah.
And I flow in the current of the river and allow myself that.
Mm.
Um, because going upstream it doesn't work. Fighting to get upstream doesn't work. And I want to speak to that self-trust piece of the somatic awareness around, preparing for birth, being a woman in a body is like that mind-body connection,
Yeah.
just being present with what is in the body and noticing and learning to notice, like,
Hmm.
how does this feel in my body? How does this music feel in my body? How does this tuning fork feel in my body? And a lot of us, need more practice at tuning in and coming back into the present moment, getting back into the canoe. Oh, look, I'm over here. My monkey mind is going off. Now get back in the canoe, get back to the breath, come back to the sensation, the feeling of my hands on your skin. What does it feel like underneath my hands? What do you feel? Here's my hand and here's your skin. What do you feel here?
Yeah.
Like really dropping in. And I love that for like somatic movement, ecstatic dance, these opportunities where we can just let our body lead. And, I know that moment when I'm in the mind going, I'm dancing. Does this look good? Are people watching me? And then to that moment of the body, now I'm on the ride of the body and the music. It's such this fine tune of
Mm.
like that fine line of, oh, I've surrendered. Oh, I'm letting the body lead. I can
Yeah.
come back online and be like, oh, I'm back. That was cool. And then, and we play with that dance. And birth is like that. How much can I just lean into letting the body and the ride take me?
Mm.
And we don't know how capable we are until we actually like go through it. Or
Yeah.
well, I should say capable. How much can we surrender?
Yeah. And isn't it such a, I mean, I love that we're talking about motherhood. Obviously, that's like my jam. I'm deep in it right now. I have at home because our son is going off to college now, but at home I have almost 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and an 8-month-old. And every time I've had another evolution of our family, that's been an unknown. But I find it interesting that like birth is also an unknown. We don't know what it's going to look like and we have to surrender, but we can definitely get ourselves set up, like get your head in the game. Like it's interesting I'm saying the mind so much, and I love that you're talking about the body and somatics, but it's like your body is going to give information to your mind and vice versa. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can really get your head in the game, get your mindset, set your intention. For me, it's like, what is the vision? That Stevie Nicks, with crystal vision. Like, I love that every time. I'm like, yes, like
Yeah.
crystal vision. Like, what is your crystal vision? What is your intention? How do you want this to go? And then surrender and let the crystal vision fractal out to the possibilities that are available that are beyond what your mind is going to visualize, because your mind's going to visualize what it knows, what it's seen, what it can imagine, which is usually from like things it's seen in movies, things it's heard from friends, family, or others. So that's a pretty limited scope when the realities are actually like this infinite cosmos. So if you can get that crystal vision and you kind of, where's my really cool, I almost said tuning fork, my really cool crystal. Love this one so much. So it's got all these little edges, but like you could see that it's kind of got colors. Now, if you were to say like, okay, this is my intention, this is my vision, this is such a good, you know, it's not just like, it's not, a solid, dense thing that's not, there's no other option. It's just this solid, dense thing. This could be any of these little ways that the light can go through that. And so, okay, I'm going to set my intention. Who do I want to be? And so it's a lot of the time for me, it's like a feeling of how I want to show up to something. Are you going to do that perfectly every time? No, but it's something you can come back to. The canoe. Get back in the canoe. Like, stop fighting it. Like, the canoe that you chiseled, like, oh, that'd be so, like, I would just love to do stuff like that, like make my own
Right.
canoe. Like,
Yes.
Kobe would love that too. Like, can we just chisel a canoe? And like that kind of focus and intention of, this is what my canoe looks like, and I'm going to get back in it, and I know what it is, and I can trust that I know from my center that I created this vision of how I want to show up for this child, of how I want to show up for this family, of how I want to show up for this birth, of how I want to show up for this business, of how I want to show up for this world. And I'm going to come back to that because that's where the possibility lies. And anytime that I veer away from that, I can feel that. Because that doesn't feel very good. Oh, why? Because it's not the truth of who I am. It's not the truth of what I already set in motion that came through me, from me. So it's easy and authentic to be that, because I'm not like trying to be something else. I'm like, this is how I show up to motherhood in a way that feels really freaking good for me. And I love that you mentioned, how does this music feel for me? Because in the course, um, one of the things that I say in the very beginning of the course is, what songs are you going to sing to the baby?
Mm.
What music is playing around you and baby? Because that's a feeling that you can already step into that future self, that future reality with that sound. The sound is like the carrier. It's an easy current for you to go from here to that reality really easily. Like, I'm going to listen to that Fleetwood Mac song that I really love, and I'm going to rock the baby. And you can visualize that, even though you're not there yet, you can visualize that. And then in a moment where you're like, just completely feel like everything is hard and falling apart, you'll have that little remembrance in there that goes Fleetwood Mac, or maybe the song will come on and you'll go, the tears will flow, and you go, oh my God, yeah, that's how I wanted to show up. It just reminds you, because I mean, motherhood, postpartum, especially that first year, it's hard. It's so challenging. And I'm getting to experience, like, it's definitely hard, but I feel like it's so much easier for me now. And I'm like, wow. I mean, God bless my little Daisy. She is like an angel. And I always feel a little bad saying she's easy, but she is. She's such a sweetie. She just wants to be held all the time. And I'm like, okay, that's hard, because my arms hurt, my neck hurts. Like, it's physically hard, but I love it. And I'm so grateful. And she just went down for a nap, and she's in there napping. I'm like, oh my gosh, my little pumpkin. And I get
Amazing.
to see my other daughters just fall in love. Like, they fall deeper in love with each other every day, this little unit. What a gift. What a gift.
I love that.
Yeah.
It, um, I was, when you were talking about the music and then having that experience of what I saw your body do was like, so somehow this information is translating into our body, right? Into the soma, the wisdom of our body. Like, so you're talking about the mind and then somehow using the mind to translate sound or using breath or some sort of tool than to like
Mm.
reactivate or the body, awaken the body, or somehow get the body on the same page. Because we talk about mind body connection, right? And so many of us walk around with the mind first and the body dragging behind, right? I have so many things I need to do, but I'm hungry, I'm tired, I have to
Yeah.
pee, and I haven't done any of those
And I'm
things.
not listening to that because I'm letting this completely drive the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So like that's so beautiful that you brought sound is like the tuning forks, the tools to get our mind body on that same wavelength because I feel like we're unstoppable when we are fully online, right?
Yeah.
When my body, my mind, my spirit, we're all on the same page and we're moving towards that same thing. Whereas in my life, my body's over here, my mind's over here, my spirit is way out there. So like bringing that back into one, and I think, your tuning forks
Hmm.
are such an amazing tool to help everything harmonize and get kind of align that compass.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm. One of my
This
favorites.
this is the yeah, that you did those beautiful videos of.
Yes.
Um, so immediately when I do the my earrings getting it, and I put it on my body, I immediately feel that exact um, shape in my body take over that you just showed. And I just taught a workshop with the tuning forks for mothers on Mother's Day.
Oh,
And I call it, this is something that came through in Female Rebels, but it really came in strong with the mothers. I call it sitting back in your throne.
high priestess. High priestess.
Because when you're like this, usually, like you said, there's that the mind's leading the way, right? That's the thing that's the most forward here. My chest is kind of dropping in, so my heart is not hearing the information. And this is like productivity energy, like we're at the
Yeah.
computer or we're on the phone. And like those are great technologies that, thank God, I'm really grateful for what we have. Like, look, we're able to connect like this right now. That's how we even met each other. So I'm so grateful. But our bodies really need to be reminded where they actually exist in space presently, because when we're
Mhm.
working on the computer it's almost like we're in the future. I mean, it's really cool. Like, I'm like making an event last night. Stayed up way too late working last night, which has kind of been happening a lot with this postpartum, and I'm just trying to be like, it's just a chapter and it's okay, because I know it's not the best thing for me, but I'm like, it's a really productive time for me, so I'm also like just letting it flow. Getting in the canoe. The canoe's like, why are you fighting this? And like,
Just
I
go
don't
for
do
it.
it. Yeah, I don't do it every night, but I was up very late last night making an event for the future. Like there's a future event that's going to happen, and I'm creating it by putting it all onto this screen right now. And so it's very easy to be in that future tripping, but really everything is actually happening right here. And when I put this tuning fork on me, it immediately brings my front body backwards and kind of meets my back body, and my back body like just never really wants to be anywhere other than in the present moment. So if I'm leaning a lot forward, it's like my back body's kind of pulling back and my front body's pulling forward, but it makes me sit back every time. Now I've had other people, this is really cool, and I love this about the tuning forks. I've had other people where it brings them forward. And I think that just has to do with what we're processing a lot at that moment in time, because it's like I'm sitting in my throne, like I'm sitting like here and now. I'm not like going into the past, and pulling back into the past can sometimes be like more the depression energy, and leaning forward can be a little bit more of the anxiety energy. And I think we're very prone as humans, even moment to moment in the day, to go in and out of those places. And if we let them wash through and just like be in the canoe and keep going, it will naturally, God will keep it moving.
Hmm.
Or you might, I'm a big crier, and I love that you mentioned a cry and how the water moves something. I was actually in the bath, and my cycle just came back like a couple months ago, and it's just been really intense. Postpartum, this is my first one, and or first time having my cycle since I had the baby the last few months. And what happens, it's so interesting because I can see the pattern. I'm very always paying attention to the body. What happens is my cycle will want to come, and it kind of freezes everything. Like everything gets really locked for me. And then it's almost like it's pulling down. And so my neck was just, it would not, like normally I can get like, see, I just got a little crack when I did that. Like can get a little movement and things kind of flow, and I'm able to get it juiced. And when I can't, I'm like, okay, what's happening? You
Hmm.
know? And it was this, I don't know, that's like how I'm visualizing it, but it could be like it's locking and it's pushing up. I don't know. It's very interesting, but it was like frozen, and I was out of town. So it kind of like was, my cycle came later than normal, which normally I'm pretty uh, regular. And so I was like, this is so interesting. I'm just watching it. And I knew as soon as it would come, I would feel better. So I took a bath. I dropped one of our, actually, someone who's helping us with our shipping right now. She's amazing. She said, go from your head to your heart, from your heart to your womb. And I sat in the bath and I did that. And I did a really beautiful meditation that I found on Insight Timer. And I just started crying.
Yes.
And as soon as I cried, all of this wisdom just came up around it. Like just things that I've been wanting clarity on, things I've been needing to process that I knew I needed to process, but I didn't quite have the space and or time because we were traveling, we were with family all the time, and there's a lot of moving pieces in our life right now. And I have my daughters around me all the time, and I cry in front of them. That is not a problem, but I'm not going to just sit there and be crying all the time. Like, we're going to go outside and we're going to do things. And okay, and energy's moving through. Okay, mommy's going to have a cry. And okay, what are you feeling, mommy? I'm like, we lost my mother-in-law, Kobe's beloved mother, this
Yeah.
summer, and a week before that, my grandfather. So I have a lot of grief, and it was really interesting. It's almost like in pregnancy, I cosmically wasn't able to go to either funeral.
Mm.
So I didn't get to close the loop in that container that does, I do think can be, not always, but can be a really powerful place for
Mhm.
grief, especially with the family around. So I didn't have that. And so I knew that that grief wanted to happen later
Yeah.
for me. So I've been kind of letting it rise up when it does. And
I talk about opening the faucet just, as much as we want. We can open that faucet and let it trickle out through the day. It can just drip through the day, or you can open that baby up and just go for it. It's
yes,
we get to, when when we're so like you are tuned into the water that needs to flow and come through. Your daughters are even saying, my girls say to me, Mommy, are those happy tears today?
yeah.
Right? It's like, because it just becomes a natural, and we don't get all pent up, right? The it doesn't get backed up, and
Mm,
then it feels like too much to release, or the grief, I'm going to drown in the ocean of grief. It's like, well, we can slowly start to open that tap, close it, open it, and then sometimes let it trickle out even more. I
mm,
think that's beautiful that you're in that flow of letting with the water, that relationship with the water of how it wants to come out, and
yeah.
not judging it, just letting
Mm,
it. This is how I'm processing it.
mm. Also, I want something wants to come through that's I was feeling really, I could feel where the tuning fork just was. I could feel it like still moving, like you were talking about that through the layers of the skin. and then down through the cells. I could still feel it moving through after I took it off. It's like still like there, and it like makes me want to like massage it and just
Yeah.
so
Oh,
nice.
and what I was hearing,
Yeah.
so while right before, so in our luteal phase, right, like right before our bleed and then during our bleed, the fascia is very actually tighter. So
Mm,
I've read some science up on this. I can't give exactly what the science is, but what I do know and why I ask women, where are you in your cycle? Because the fascia will be more elastic um, after the bleed up until
yeah.
ovulation and around ovulation and then afterwards. So that kind of like tightening, and it
Mm,
may just be the building. So literally our womb, right, it's thickening.
mm.
There's less space there. So that feeling where you felt like you were kind of like up to the brim, maybe.
Yeah.
And then also when we do a cross section of the larynx, the throat, it mirrors the pelvic floor. So these two,
Mm,
right? We talk about the jaw connection to the pelvic floor.
yeah.
All of these kind of cross sections here, this is going to mirror, right? Yeah, the throat. And we talk about this in birth about the toning and the opening of the larynx and the tongue and the mouth, right? Our yoni has tongues too. She this is a direct, and this is why I've been kind of on a rant about the whole my dental journey. It's like, this is my sacred portal. It is a mirror to my yoni. My tongue is a sense organ. You know, like this is so precious. And my throat, all of this is such the whole body as a temple. But interesting how, yes, the throat, the vibration in the throat can work on the pelvic floor as well and open up the gate for birth also. And think about when we're in sacred union and we're having this ecstasy and and we always want to make, at least I do, make noises, right? Like that humming noise. I don't think that's too irregular, but like that vibrates the yoni as well. So it's just, I mean, come
Yeah.
on, these
Yeah.
portals, these amazing temples
Yeah.
that birth new life
Yeah.
that you've done three times, and me too. It is amazing.
How old are
Amazing
your
vision.
kids? I didn't know you had three.
Yeah, I have three, nine, and she's, excuse me, 13, 9, and 4.
Okay.
And like similar to you, have had this progression of births of the unnecessary C-section with the midwife
Wow.
that, came in and then to the traumatic VBAC in the hospital. I had the victorious vaginal birth, but it ended where, in unnecessary intervention, broke the
Mm.
waters, the pain shot through the roof. I was having this orgasmic, oh, it was just so beautiful. And then they came in like, we need to hurry this up because I'm in meditation. I was
Yeah.
like meditating my way. Trust me, the waves were happening, but they were
Yeah.
happening inside of me. But just because I wasn't doing the outward thing, we need to hurry this along, broke the waters, the pain shot through the roof, end up with the epidural, baby's in the canal too long, ends up in the NICU, like
Wow. Yeah.
just hands off, please,
Mm-hmm.
go away. And so it was a bittersweet victory, that VBAC.
Yeah.
And then finally had the free birth at home in 2021, where no medical people present, my daughter's father and my best friend there to be with me. And, I related to that too, where, oh, that liminal space, man, when I finally got to have that space of that liminality of that transition and go into my body, just, I didn't no one told me what to do. I ended up on my hands and knees because I had fallen asleep like this on the side of the bed. I just was like going in and out, like you said, like that. And then I'd be like, back in. And then all of a sudden I'm on my hands and knees and babies. And
Amazing.
I got to feel, and because that's the beauty of doing this at home, I checked myself, could feel the top of her head coming down. And I was like, she's coming. It was so freaking exciting. I didn't do that, but in my head, I was like,
Yeah.
I can feel her. I can feel her. I can feel her,
Yeah.
she's coming. Hands and knees. And she's just like, I didn't push. She just flooped right out and right onto my floor and into my hand. So she belongs to the earth, which is really cool. I always imagine catching her,
Yeah.
but and like just scooping her right up, but that child belongs to the earth, that Leo baby. And but I got to put her right onto my chest and do so like the victory of that from the unnecessary C-section to, and I can call it unnecessary and I can judge it, but of course it
Right.
was the path
Yeah.
of my empowerment, of my sovereignty, of learning how I give away my power and my autonomy, and learning birth and the
Yeah.
history of birth and women birthing to finally have educated myself enough to have that third and final free birth in my home. And I got, woof, she had to look at me. A couple of times, she just, Margaret, breathe. We're here. We're not going anywhere. Because I got to the point in the labyrinth where I was like, I think I need to go to the hospital. I'm not okay. Like giving
Mm,
away the power again.
mm,
She goes, we're way too far along for that. Bree, come here. That pain, she said, the pain isn't going to kill you.
mm.
Okay, I can get behind this. Like
Is
how
this your
powerful is
bestie?
it? What's that?
Is this your bestie?
Yes.
Wow.
And she's birthed before. She's an amazing healer, birth worker.
That's amazing.
She wouldn't call herself a birth worker, but she is like she's another portal dweller. She's there for the transmutation and the journey, and she's an amazing body worker and energy
Mm,
healer as well. So
cool.
herbalist, all the things. Um, and I just remember her looking at me and going,
Aw.
just staring into my soul. And
Mm,
that's what we need, just that mirror to remind us of who I am, what I'm here to do. And when that baby came out, the ripple in the collective consciousness that I felt, I had this vision of it just
wow.
out, right? Because we make huge waves when we do stuff like that, take our
Mm.
power back.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Well, you said you there's been a lot with power dynamics, and what I'm hearing and what you're saying is the collective, sh- I don't want to say struggle, but the collective journey with power dynamics, and specifically with power dynamics around outsourcing our power, especially when it comes to institutionalized things
Yes.
that for our lifetime have just become very normal. Like it's been normal, like normal to go to school, right? For our childhood, normal for us to go to school, normal for us to go to college, normal for us to go get a 9 to 5 job, normal for us to, um, when we get pregnant, go to a doctor. Normal for us when we get pregnant to go to the doctor and have um, lots of ultrasounds,
Yep. Blood tests, all that.
lots and lots of tests, lots and lots of information. And it's just a very like, this is normal. This is normal. And so it's interesting how that somehow we almost gave our power away to like normalcy.
Yes.
Just
Complacency.
yeah, just what is, like, oh, this just is what is. But I am really, that's a kind of a hard subject, but we also do that with health in a really big way. And so there's like birth and motherhood and that journey. And that's a really interesting space, just like health is a really interesting space to talk about, like, where can we do things holistically? Where can we do things naturally? And where do we need medical help?
Yep. And there's a
Um,
place for both of those things. And
yeah.
that's where I feel like my my practice, my business, my healing work is so radical because it's just teaching people how to come back to themselves and to their bodies and to their own wisdom and to their own sovereignty, where there's still, clients that come through the door that, any little ache or pain or twinge, they want to, oh, well, I have an appointment with this person. I'm going to this doctor or that doctor. And I say, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to discourage you from doing that because yes, there's a good reason we have surgeons and these specialists. And what if what if it was just a manifestation of a belief? What if it was just our stress response over so many years?
Mm-hmm.
What if, like Ayurveda says, the disease began in the mind? And what if we can trace it back? Little by little by little, unfolding, unraveling these patterns, untangling the knots. And that's what we do in the body, and then it reflects in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
The water flows on the body, we make more space in the body, we learn things, and then we go out into the world kind of new, and then get to integrate what we learned on the table outside in the world and remember, oh wait, how do I feel in this moment? Here I am again with my mother-in-law, right? I mean, that's a typical one, whoever it
It
is.
is. It
My
is.
my
Yeah. No,
ex-husband, ex-husband, whatever.
I think my mother-in-law transitioning to the other side has been really, it's been such a big lesson for me. And one of the biggest things that I said this to one of my best friends. She just gave birth. A lot of my people are in the portal.
Mm.
She just gave birth and her mother-in-law wanted to come. And right after I gave birth, I did not want my mother-in-law to come because in hindsight, at the time I didn't realize what it was, but I was having a really hard time being seen by her. Like the part of me that wanted to perform or be something in her reflection
Mhm.
couldn't do that, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, and it was even harder than I thought because of having a C-section. And she came, I barely saw her. I barely left bed. She was there for, my mom was there for the first week, and then she was there for 2 weeks. And she lived close, and she did laundry, and she cooked, and she also took care of my partner. And they really need that because usually they're the ones taking care of the mother. He took care of me, and Kobe has taken such good care of me every time. And this time we didn't have like any additional support. I'm close to my family, so they would, drop food and do those things, but it was him and I in the home together. And I credit how I feel and how easeful this has been and how easeful Daisy is because of how I've been able to show up for her and because of how he has shown up for me
Mm.
and how necessary that is. And I wish that his mom was alive and could be here. And I told her that. I did say to her, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I messed up. Like, I don't know why I had such a hard time. And she's, don't be sorry. It's okay. I said to my best friend, I was like, let her love you. Let
Mhm.
her love you in her own way. Do not fight it. Do not let the feeling of not being good enough or um, any fear that might come up around, the mother-son dynamic, which is really special. It's a really precious thing, and it's confronting to be the daughter-in-law because you feel like you're always going to be living in that. I mean, I say that in a positive way. You're always going to be living in that vision, but like if your partner loves their mother and cherishes her, for them to hold you in that same kind of place and love you like that and love, for you to have that, to be in a place of that bond with them That's so sacred.
Mm,
That's so sacred. I mean, the way that his mom loved him
mm,
and the way that he loved his mom, loves his mom, the way she still loves him, I can still feel her love all the time. I can feel her as soon as I talk about her.
mm.
um, yeah, and I'm really lucky that I got to have the last couple weeks of her life with her and lay in bed with her and tell her that I wish I did it a little differently. And that was really hard to look back and be like, oof, like what a gut punch to be like, I would have done this a little different. I would
Mhm.
have let your love in way more. And I just always was like afraid she didn't love me. And finally at the end, I don't know why it finally clicked that she did. I'm like, why, why, what was that? And so that was a big lesson for me. So I totally get the like the mother-in-law because it used to I would just have such a hard time. And I when we went to Atlanta, usually I see her, and usually when I'm with my soul son, she's there, and I just kept like wishing she was there, and I kept feeling that friction that I used to feel of like being nervous, of like being enough, being good enough, and being like, what is that? What was that I think it was like my own armor of you're never going to think I'm enough so that I don't have to confront any of it, like people are just different from one another. They grew up differently, they have different ways that they came through culturally, they have different ways that they see the way that they want to show up in the world. And so, of course, like in the mirror of each other, it's very easy to imagine that they don't think your way is good or enough because it's not exactly what their way is, but it's not necessarily how anybody thinks about us. And we get so, here we are with the mind again, we get so caught up in the story that usually is a complete bunch of bull that we've made up about what someone else thinks about us, and they might not think anything of the sort.
Yeah.
And we will literally like stay in that for an entire life with somebody. Like it's crazy. I'm like, until it was like shattered by, the veil of death. Like it like shattered it for me. And I was just left with like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done this differently. And that was still is a really hard pill to swallow of like, whoa, what projection or fear or
Right. And it's
we get caught up. Yeah.
the core belief, the core beliefs we walk around with
Mm.
as our armor, is these beliefs about ourselves. And I think a lot of us who are kind of doing things a little bit more radically, we're almost expected to be judged. I expect others to not like what comes out of my mouth or question, typically people question,
Sure.
or I get a lot like I'm slow to share
Mm.
maybe my dreams or my plans
Mm.
because I didn't tell a lot of people I was doing that pre-birth because
Yeah.
we're because you don't want you just can't
Yeah.
it's so protected, right? The being pregnant and having the intention, um and it's just like when we're manifesting a dream, it's the same, like who can I share this, who can I help protect this beautiful seedling. And when we're talking about core beliefs, and there's just an opportunity now to be with the part that believes I'm not enough. What we can do some excavation as follow the thread back to like, where did that start for me? Like, what were the dynamics, and what's the evidence in my life that has like led me to believe I'm not enough? I almost feel like that's kind of a human core belief of just being in a body and being separate and
Yeah.
having this unique kind of makeup and moving through the world and trying to find our way and constant comparison and judgment and
Mm.
coming back to ourselves. realizing we are enough just as we are. But that takes radical self-love, radical self-acceptance, and probably until your 40s to, after you've been through a lot of that, and then you do lose loved ones that are so close to us that just shatter, like you said, shatter the veil of the ego identity of I'm not enough or I'll never be good enough for you or your son or whatever story we were telling or
Right.
you know living in the shadow of something greater or and that's that same power dynamic. Bless
Oh,
you.
thank you.
That power dynamic where I've played a lot in of putting myself on the pedestal or putting myself lower, typically lower, like putting myself
Mm,
under rather than learning to like, oh, we're all human walking this path together and you have beliefs and I have beliefs and then so how can we come into I keep talking about this coherence and this harmony and that's really with the tuning forks it's like creating a coherence, creating a frequency that harmonizes my field and any distortions like the I'm not enoughness, they 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 get loosened in the field. They have less grip
mm,
and more we can just like kind of chip away at that core belief, reminding ourselves, look, instead of looking at all the reasons why you weren't enough, now look at all the reasons why you're enough.
mm,
I had an energy session at one point where I got a vision of my Akashic record, and it just looked like a file cabinet that was pulled out that was infinite.
mm,
And my guide said to me, or my higher self said to me, look at all the evidence of your beauty.
mm.
Just tears, like, wow, oh my God, I'm beautiful. There's so much evidence of my beauty. I didn't walk around after that day going, look at me, I'm so beautiful. And like it was all shattered at that moment. No, like it's
Mm,
taken moments of let's take out another file from that cabinet and remember, oh,
mm,
right, there you are. I see
mm,
you pulling the mirror out, and really looking at myself. And I'm a child of God. I'm a child of Source. I'm a child of this Mother Earth. And like how beautiful is that and how grateful I am to have this carbon-based, earth-based, water-based created from the five elements and we get to walk this journey together. It's such a blessing. I'm so grateful that, for all that you've shared and we've got to uncover together. It's a blessing to walk with sisters like you. Yeah, really
thank
is.
you. Thank you for calling me forward
Mm.
and for inviting this conversation. I want to say I saw a little bit of like the crystal we were talking about and the fractal.
Yeah.
Um, Earlier when you were saying like it's like when you're dancing and you're like, is anyone like looking at me and do I look cool and versus like you're in the dance. Same exact thing with like kind of affirming to ourselves like I am beautiful. Look at my proof of beauty versus where we feel beautiful and we like just sink into that. We're in that like throne of it for a moment. Sit back in our throne.
Oof. The somatic experience of feeling worthy rather
Mm,
than needing to look at the evidence, which is a step in the process, but then embodying it, bring it in. So how does it feel to look at my beauty? And then, oh, it feels good.
yeah. Well, it makes me really think about because when you feel beautiful, you're not thinking about it. Just like when you're flowing in the music, the reason why you're not you're not thinking about it. You're just being it,
Mm,
being. And so when am I being enough?
mm,
And when you're in the call it a projection because I think there was a projection specifically in that relationship where her not enough, like her not feeling like enough, and
The
my
two
not feeling
say, yeah, the two sides of the same coin, they're coming into relationship and then
they yeah they bounced
magnified.
off each other a
Yeah.
lot. And so there were a lot of moments that I had with her where that would drop for both of us. And so that those moments existed, but the fear of that, not confrontation in a fight way, but that confrontation of that feeling, like having to confront not feeling like enough, and how that would make me close off a little bit and not be myself, which is where I feel like I'm enough, is when I'm being authentic. Because enough has to do with feeling whole, not like a fragment of yourself, or not a fractured version of yourself, or not a fake version of yourself. You're not going to feel like enough if it's not you, because you're not who you are. And so then you're not whole. And
Right.
so it's like
So true.
such a silly thing that we do where,
Well, and then
take,
being seen in the wholeness. So what's the fear actually? To be seen in my wholeness.
yeah.
What
And
would
so,
that be? Like, how can I hold myself in my wholeness?
yeah. And then I also feel like what's really powerful, and this kind of weaves into the work I do with women, and gathering women together, is who do you feel reflects your wholeness to you very easily? Where do you feel your wholeness very easily in communion and in sisterhood, or in relation to others, and seeking out that connection as much as possible, as often as you need. Like sometimes when I don't feel like myself, I'll call that friend that I keep talking about, or call my, one of those two friends I've just mentioned. They're, my people right now that remind me who I am. Like I don't feel like myself right now. Remind me who I am, or remind me of my beauty I have forgotten. Yeah.
Such a blessing to have people in your life that can reflect that to you.
I know. Well,
But
it's
but it's
good.
because you've shown them, because you've been able to, you've cultivated a safe space where you've been able to take the masks off and show your full authenticity. And they probably have this inner knowing of you, right? And then they can just reflect it back. Oh, what a gift.
Yeah. I was saying to my niece, I think the other day, where I said, when I really don't, when I'm freaking out about something, or I feel overwhelmed by something, I'll just message them, either both of them or one of them, and say, I'm freaking out. I just need you to just like hold space. And we've created a thing where when they're having a hard moment, they will tell me. And it's when they're having a hard moment that like my humanness feels more alive.
Yes.
And it's not because I'm like celebrating their struggle, but I'm like, oh, thank God. Like we're the same, We all have a hard time still, even though we're evolving and growing, and doing our best to be, as evolved and as conscious and as whole for our children as possible. We're still going to have struggle within that journey. And it's so helpful to see that in others, and be reminded that it's okay where we are on our journey, that it is imperfect, and that we can always come back to that canoe. We can always come back to the intention and the wholeness of who we are, and then we'll feel everything makes sense again. And that person can remind us, or them just holding space for me to say I don't feel like myself, can remind me, okay, that's just a story, and I'm letting it, go out, go down with the water, flow down the river.
Hmm.
Um, One more thing that I wanted to speak to, that we haven't talked about, but that keeps coming up really strong. You can still feel that tuning fork just like down into my neck. So we're talking a lot about the body, and I'm thinking about this a little bit in a future way of the evolution of our species as humans, and how we're going to be able to keep up with. Whoa, I just felt like a timeline. Wow, that was really cool. How we're going to be able to keep up with how fast things are moving.
Yeah.
And the body is sometimes a little bit slow to keep up.
It's denser. It's dense.
Exactly, it's the
It's the
density.
density, the subtlety
Yeah,
versus and we are multidimensional, right? We're multidimensional, so we happen on all the levels from dense to subtle.
yeah. And so David, the original founder of Soma, talks about that your body doesn't have an energy, but that your energy has a body. And if we think about the energy coming in and creating matter, everything is energy, right? Like Einstein says. And so if this matter was created by this energy, how do we work with the energetics, the soma energetics, right? It's the energetics of the body. How do we work with the energetics so that the body can be in that wholeness and can be in that throne? It just is coming in, and it already is. So we don't have to so much like remind it and do it and be in it. Like there's like this expansion, contraction, but I'm feeling a lot of, okay, I'll tell a story because this is how I experienced it, where it's a little bit more tangible. This was really cool and I'm so grateful. So remember I said I had an analogy that was trying to come through. So what came through, and probably because yesterday we went on a hike, gorgeous hike with a waterfall, and we have been all really needing regulation all the way down to our dog. Like everyone in the house has been really needing it, and our whole house is so calm today from going and being in nature. So like that, and just to fill in the gap, the analogy was coming through about going into the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So when we go on a hike, we don't really know what we're going to get. We got to kind of go in, but we can set our mind of how we want to feel. But the experience is going to inform us. But if we can kind of have who we want to be in that and show up as who we are, truly our essence, we are met, like the energy of us is met by the experience, and our energy meets the experience. There's a relationship and a thing happening. People talk about this like the law of attraction or manifesting, right?
Co-creation, yeah.
Co-creation, coherence, to your point of what, and that's the Joe Dispenza wisdom that I love so much. But think about it in an even different way of, if we go out, I felt this yesterday, out into nature, and we let nature inform the energy of us,
Mm.
because nature is already perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And so it informs our energy of its perfection and its wholeness that already exists. And then that can kind of travel inward to the body. And I
Mm-hmm.
can feel, I didn't get as much sleep, but I feel okay. My digestion moved very surprisingly after that hike. And I was like, I've been having trouble with my digestion since having the baby. And I was like, whoa. So we went out and we had the Fibonacci forks because we're hosting a Fibonacci training with one of our teachers in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't played with the Fibonacci a lot yet, but I was like, let's bring some forks on the hike. And then I was like, I felt like the intuition, grab the Fibonacci, and I was like, they're downstairs, they're not in a pouch, and then so I grabbed all the other forks. I have the, all the solfeggio with me, and I have the ohm, and I have the 72 hertz. I love our 72 hertz so much, by the way. And I had to come back in and grab something, and I saw the salt lamp is behind our Fibonacci in Kobe's office downstairs. I literally heard the Fibonacci fork go, take us,
Yeah.
take us. And I was like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get them. So I grabbed the first two in the Fibonacci series. There's 8 forks in total, but the 1-1 and the 2-3, and come out on the hike, and I'm playing with them and activating them. And Kobe was taking some video, and I was like, wow. These are like, this feels so good. The 1-1 is the 256, so it's the 128 hertz, which is a really highly researched frequency. This is the 128, it's weighted. This is really researched. There's like millions of dollars of research that has gone into this because it's used medically. So there's just like a really big body of information. Whereas if you research the ohm, you can find a lot about ohm, but not 136.1 hertz. Now they're only like 6 hertz, not six, but what is it? 8 hertz apart, 128 and 136, 8 hertz apart. So they're not that different. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like this one's releasing nitric oxide, well, this one is too, but it doesn't have as much research around it. Okay. Anyway, I had the 256, which is the first one in the Fibonacci, and the 256 is a C note tuned to the 432 scale. It's magical, really magical. I don't know what the 2-3 is, but I'm working with them together. And then he went and caught up with the girls because they were running up the hike, and I just kept playing with them and moving them in my field. And I was like, wow, I was having an experience. And then I turned to go walk, and all of the pine cones were like lifted off the ground. Like I could see them more. And I'm like, oh, I have the chills. I'm like, I activated the Fibonacci in my field, and now all the Fibonacci stuff is more present and aware to me. And then I'm like, let me see how the pine tree will react to this. And it's like a little tip of the pine tree. It's like a little baby part of the pine tree. So I held the forks and I just activated them. I activated them on each other. And then I brought them under, and the tree lifted. It actually moved. And I was like, am I imagining this? So then I went over to Kobe. I'm like, watch this. And I go over to a fern. Same thing, because the fern spirals the Fibonacci open. The ferns were going, like we filmed it. And I'm just giggling because I was like, this is crazy. So like that, like that's a tangible, I brought this frequency, this energy into my field. And now all of a sudden I'm more aware of that perfection and that sacredness and that wholeness that already exists in nature. And then that reflects back to me. And now my digestion feels good and my whole family's regulated. I can't quantify exactly what happened, but I could feel it in my knowing. I'm like, I just feel like reset and good and juicy. And you can feel that, like I have my table here from the last training we did. You can feel that when you work with any of the forks. You can
Yeah.
feel those frequencies come into your fields,
Yes.
reset the intelligence of the places where those frequencies are needing to come in, just like with the pine tree and like it's like, ooh, thank you, like this, yeah, like it's already being that wholeness. But if there's any growth that needed support or anything, it's like reminding it of it. So it's this communication back and forth of and
Hmm.
so we can do that in our energetics, and that can also inform the body.
Yes.
And that's a really cool thing for us to think about. And I really feel like that's the future. And that's why I'm so excited about the tuning forks. And like, there's a whole future of this that is still unknown. And it's only, I call them the people on the, you could either think of it as the inner circle or I call it the fringe. Like, I
Yes.
feel like
We
we're
are
on fringe.
definitely we're the ones on the edge of the new timeline, like you said.
Yes.
Like we're bringing this thing forward in this, allowing the extra sensory perception to be real.
Yeah.
It's real, and I talked about this the other day. It's yes, we have the sense organs that are, your ears, eyes, nose, mouth, your skin. Those things we all we all just accept as real.
Mm.
But those senses also have extra sensory perception. And a lot of us know about intuition. It's like, okay, we're starting to understand that intuition is a thing. Well,
Mm.
intuition also has multi-sensory layers to how our intuition can communicate with us. And so this extra sensory, like that feeling that you get, it's real.
Yeah.
You're having an experience. It's real.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can't quantify it with a machine, but we know it's there because it's happening. And the more we can trust that feeling, it's real to me. So this is how I'm living my life. And
right? And
creating the
we
new
can
timeline.
attune to it.
Yeah.
Back to
And
the
fine tune it and
we
fine
can,
tune it. The
yeah.
more we tune it.
I am attuning myself to
Yes.
love, to beauty, to enoughness, and then by attuning to it, I'm emitting it
Yes.
and also welcoming it. And it's going to show up in my experience, not because I'm calling in more of it, but because I'm recognizing it more. Like the pine cones. Like there weren't more pine cones all of a sudden. I saw them more. And I was like, oh, wow,
It's a feedback loop.
so cool. And I'm just thinking, these are like the tangible things that we can talk about, but I'm like, what's happening energetically and
Cellular.
emotional body? Yeah, like all of these, all the fields around me. I think there's 12 of them in total, like, and then another one, and another one. And how are those all being informed and affected? And then the body, right? The most dense version of it. What is that doing to, I have the right hip. I don't know if we're like, have the same exact things going on. I have the right hip and it's holding. And I had a body worker say to me, she's amazing energy healing body worker in Hawaii.
Mm.
She had a memory back to what we started talking about in the beginning of me. She said, a boy with really big brown eyes, very beautiful. Something happened, and I was just in love with this boy, but I just never felt like I was enough.
Mm.
I have no idea why. Like I don't know where it came from. Like there was no information. I mean, I could think about where it comes from, some of my like parental patterns and even we take on our parents' patterns. So I can see that, but it's not my own. Like nothing happened for I'm like got made fun of or anything like that. Like I don't have a trauma that lives in me, but energetically, the imprint of something I picked up on as a child that I replicated and allowed to keep communicating. And how can these magical frequencies disrupt those and remind those what they actually are in wholeness and in truth, and they'll just fade away. And we don't have to unpack it or it'll just fade. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had people say, actually, the red one I'm holding up is funny because I had someone reach out to me and she was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. Is this even going to work? We'll see. But I have to tell you, Kyla, I got the solfeggio body tuners and I was playing with them at night and my right hip always bothers me and I just put it on my right hip and went to bed. She said, I woke up in the middle of the night because I felt like a lightning bolt shoot through my right hip all the way up through my head. And she said, like a lifetime of pain gone. That's what I'm talking about.
Can be
Where,
that easy, right? Like it doesn't have to
yeah,
be, and I like all this map of my Scorpio, this map has all been about deep excavation, which there's just a part of me that loves that stuff. But like
same.
I'm tired, kind of tired by now. So I'm over it a bit. I just want to be like, my Taurus North node and my Leo rising. And
You're a
if
Taurus
I can,
North Node. Me too.
yeah,
Yeah.
putting it into
That's
the
great.
world. That's what we're doing right now. So like if I can just, tune into the field and let the field clear me, and if these, beautiful tools are going to help organize my system and harmonize my system to let that distortion just fall away and I don't have to do a big, exorcism over it, I'm happy. Like
Yeah.
I'm good with that now.
High five. Agreed. Okay, I pulled some cards before we hop off. I just want to share.
Oh, octopus!
Octopus! I really felt that. I was like, that's a good one for us. Trust your multitasking powers. So you were talking about all that stuff you have in the beginning. And then is octopus one of your like spirit animals?
Definitely. Like octopus showed up a lot during my pregnancy with my third, with a free birth.
Oh,
And octopus told me to keep it secret. Octopus told me to keep it hidden Keep it camouflaged. Don't come
Yeah.
out with this. Like, stay in
Oh,
your cave.
I love it.
Yes.
So I love the octopus too. This actually is a spirit animal that shows up for Kobe a lot. But I like the multitasking thing because I stayed up late and I have a lot that I'm doing today, and I'm like, okay, I got this. And then this is one of my spirit animals is the hummingbird.
Yes.
It says, receive the sweetness of life. That kind of reminds me of the tuning fork and the playing with the plants yesterday. That was so cool. And then we
Love
talked about this,
hummingbird.
and you talked about your daughter, her earth energy, the turtle.
Oh, turtle was coming up yesterday too. Ancient grounded power. And turtle's just like ancient, like kind of reptile, like first of the, first earth creatures. Like, oh.
Hmm.
And turtle is just like that wise mother. I
Yeah.
imagine I've had visions of me floating on a turtle down a river, like on a
Mm.
large turtle. These are these are amazing.
So the 13, they have the 13,
Oh, and the Fibonacci. Yes.
yeah, on their back
Yeah.
also, and it relates to the actual calendar that follows the moons, which
Right.
has to do with the 13 goddesses, and I'm born on the 13th. So, but I do really like the grounded power. We have kind of like this bing energy, and then we have the grounding, and then we have the octopus. It's like
It's
everything.
like all the things because like I love what I'm letting myself multitask a lot more. Like it's okay to multitask.
Yeah.
I can do lots of things and actually enjoying it and I'm getting like kind of good at it. And it might
Yeah.
be just part of the evolution of our humanity that we don't have to okay, yes, we still need to be present, right? And
Yeah.
awareness. Bring the presence into the multitasking, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and like be okay with, okay, I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, and not fracturing ourselves and fragmenting ourselves. And I
Mm.
think like bringing my whole self into the next thing and being
Yes.
okay with it and being okay with, Kobe and I are talking about this more now with each other, like the neurodivergence of who we are and allowing ourselves to be just okay with that being a gift to what we're doing and not
Not an obstacle. It doesn't
an
have to be.
obstacle,
Yeah, it doesn't.
exactly, or like only a challenge. Like, yeah, there are challenges in it, but there's also a lot of gifts in it. And him
Mhm.
and I both have that. Like sometimes in a relationship, you'll have one person who is more easily focused and present, and then one who's a little bit more neurodivergent, but we're both. I mean, I don't have any label with that, but I am very much do, 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 do. I'm a manifesting generator. I'm like, I gotta do
Me
this.
too.
Yeah, I gotta do this, and then I gotta do that, and then I gotta do this, and I'm gonna do that, and then
Mhm.
here I am doing this thing over here,
Yeah.
and like not making that wrong. Because there are people who are
Yes.
not like that, and you can be in the mirror of their energetic field. You're like, ooh, I don't have that. My sister is like the turtle energy, like that is the totality of her, and I'm like, oh, can I just hang out with you for a minute and just feel that? Because I'm like, bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing. She's like, you got a lot going on. That's what she says to me all the time. I'm like, yeah, I always have a lot going on. That's just how I am.
I
Like,
love
it's
that.
just constant.
And that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And that's and that's enough.
Yes, and it's enough exactly the
Yeah.
way you are in all your beauty and all of your hummingbirdness.
Yes. Aw. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. What we talked. Oh my gosh, we could talk. I love it. It's
Yeah.
what a gift to share.
Well, maybe
Share
we
this
can do
time
it
together.
again. Maybe we should like make it a monthly.
Yeah, and
I'm so down.
if
Yeah.
we want to create, you know, I don't know, like I'll have to check out I'm glad you were able to like put a little plug in for the we'll
The
see
bit.
what AI. I'm gonna stop recording.